The world of motorsports has always been defined by speed, pressure, and unforgettable personalities, but very few names have left a mark as powerful and controversial as Kyle Busch. Over the years, he has become one of the most talked-about drivers in NASCAR history, not just for his victories, but for his intensity, his determination, and his ability to dominate on the track when it matters most. Whether you love him or criticize him, there is no denying that Kyle Busch has built a legacy that will be remembered for generations in the world of racing. From the very beginning of his career, Kyle Busch showed signs that he was not an ordinary driver. Born with natural racing instincts and a competitive mindset that refused to settle for anything less than victory, he quickly rose through the ranks and made his way into professional stock car racing. His early years were filled with promise, but also pressure, as expectations grew rapidly around him. It didn't take long before fans and critics realized that a new force had arrived in NASCAR, someone who would challenge the established names and redefine what it meant to compete at the highest level. As he entered the top tier of NASCAR, Kyle Busch quickly earned a reputation for being aggressive, fearless, and sometimes unpredictable. He was not the kind of driver who played it safe or accepted second place as an option. Instead, he pushed limits, took risks, and often found himself in dramatic on-track battles that became highlights of racing broadcasts. His driving style divided opinion, but it also made him one of the most exciting athletes to watch in the sport. Over time, Kyle Busch became a symbol of dominance, particularly in the NASCAR Cup Series and Xfinity Series. His ability to win races in different vehicles, under different conditions, against different generations of drivers, set him apart from many of his competitors. Fans began to recognize that when Kyle Busch was in form, he was nearly unstoppable. His skill behind the wheel, combined with his deep understanding of race strategy, allowed him to turn difficult situations into victories that seemed almost impossible. However, his journey was not without challenges. Throughout his career, Kyle Busch faced criticism, controversies, and moments of frustration that often played out in front of millions of viewers. There were rivalries, heated exchanges, and emotional outbursts that became part of his public image. But what made his story compelling was not perfection, it was resilience. Every time he faced setbacks, he returned stronger, more focused, and more determined to prove himself once again on the track. One of the defining aspects of Kyle Busch's legacy is his championship success in the Kyle Busch era of modern NASCAR. Winning championships is never easy, but doing so in a highly competitive field filled with elite drivers requires consistency, mental strength, and technical excellence. Kyle Busch demonstrated all of these qualities throughout his career, earning his place among the most successful drivers in the history of the sport. His victories were not just statistics. They were statements of dominance, proof that he belonged at the very top. As his career progressed, fans also began to see a more mature and reflective side of Kyle Busch. While early in his career he was often seen as fiery and outspoken, later years revealed a driver who understood the value of experience, family, and perspective. Life outside the racetrack began to play a more important role, and this shift added depth to his public image. He was no longer just the aggressive competitor on race day. He was also a husband, a father, and someone learning to balance the demands of professional racing with personal life. Moments of emotional reflection became more common in interviews and post-race discussions. Kyle Busch often spoke about the importance of his family and the motivation they provided. He acknowledged the pressure of the sport and the toll it could take mentally and physically. These insights helped fans see a more human side of a driver who had often been defined only by his intensity on the track. It became clear that behind the helmet was someone who deeply cared about his journey and the people supporting him. Throughout his career, Kyle Busch also built unforgettable rivalries that defined entire seasons of NASCAR racing. These rivalries were not just about competition, they were about pride, reputation, and the relentless pursuit of victory. Every race where he battled against top competitors added another chapter to his story, making him a central figure in some of the most dramatic moments in modern motorsport history. As fans look back on his career, many remember specific races where Kyle Busch showcased his brilliance under pressure. Whether it was a last-lap overtake, a strategic pit stop that changed everything, or a comeback from a difficult starting position, he consistently delivered moments that kept audiences on the edge of their seats. These performances are now part of NASCAR history, replayed countless times as examples of pure racing skill and determination. Beyond the track, Kyle Busch's impact extends into mentorship and influence. Younger drivers entering the sport often look up to veterans like him, studying their techniques, decisions, and mental approach to racing. His presence in the garage has helped shape the next generation of competitors who understand that success in NASCAR requires more than speed. It requires intelligence, patience, and adaptability. Even in moments when results did not go his way, Kyle Busch remained a central figure in conversations about the sport. His passion for racing never faded, and his competitive spirit continued to drive him forward. Fans admired his honesty, even when it came with frustration, because it reflected how deeply he cared about winning and performing at the highest level. As his career continues to be remembered and celebrated, it becomes clear that Kyle Busch's legacy is not defined by a single moment, race, or championship. Instead, it is defined by consistency, longevity, and impact. Few drivers have managed to stay relevant and competitive across such a long period of time, and even fewer have done so while maintaining such a strong identity within the sport. Today, when fans look back at his journey, they see more than just a driver. They see a competitor who changed the way people view aggression in racing, who pushed boundaries, and who never backed down from a challenge. His story is one of determination, evolution, and relentless pursuit of excellence. The legacy of Kyle Busch is still being written, but one thing is already certain: his name will forever be part of NASCAR history. Whether through his victories, his rivalries, or his unforgettable moments on the track, he has secured a place among the legends of the sport. And as future generations of fans discover his highlights, they will continue to witness the impact of a driver who gave everything to racing. In the end, Kyle Busch's story is not just about winning races. It is about passion, persistence, and the drive to compete at the highest level no matter the obstacles. And that is what makes his legacy truly unforgettable.